This is Paul Glumaz, 46-year veteran political activist with the movement of Lyndon LaRouche, and this is being brought to you by General Welfare Presents. So the end of the round of impeachment, the impeachment saga, and the fact that the Senate did not vote to continue the impeachment saga with witnesses. That round ended, and now you have the second and third round and fourth round are on their way. This is a never-ending situation, and you have to understand that it's a never-ending situation because it is being run by the British Empire. And the British Empire has had, like about 10 generations of psychological profiles of every American politician and every congressman and what have you. And we just found out that there was a Hammer program that was run by Clapper at the NSA, excuse me, at National Intelligence, and Brennan, which had these computer capabilities that were independently and secretly surveilling all the judges, all the politicians, the president, massively. And they also had in this program the capacity to plant, child pornography and classified documents and then frame up people. This is what's now coming out, this Hammer program. So this is not over, folks. Okay, the British Empire and its element in the United States, which has been in charge of the United States increasingly since World War II, and especially after the assassination of of Kennedy and later King, but also since Herbert Walker Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush, and especially after the Monica Lewinsky affair and the coup against Clinton, and then Bush and Obama, you have this incredible institutionalization of a British geopolitical orientation, of permanent wars and an empire. And the core of the ideology, and which justifies the policies, is what's called Malthusianism or neo-Malthusianism. That is, preventing the world from developing and preventing the world from having an increased population, because the increased population will lead to development. Or rather, a decreased population is preferable, down to 1 billion or 2 billion. And that is the policy. That is the policy of the establishment of the United States. That is the policy of the bureaucracy of the European Union. That is the policy of the globally extended British Empire, which is a rules-based order, and the rules are set not on the basis of the sovereignty of a nation, but on the basis of imposing on all nations a rules-based system which rejects the sovereignty of a nation, and instead it's the sovereignty of the bankers. It's the sovereignty of the financial. That's who's sovereign. And you saw that they were sovereign, not the nations. You saw that in the 2008 crisis when the entire global financial speculative system based in London and Wall Street were bailed out in what was called too big to fail, too big to jail. And then in 2009, they set up the Financial Stability Board to oversee, to make sure that if any major financial institution, which is systemically important, meaning that they would, if they collapsed, they would take the whole system with it, that they would get bailed out or bailed in or whatever. So the whole system is institutionally, global rules-based order has one priority, and that is to keep the global financial system afloat in its current form of financial speculation. And the cornerstone of the financial system is the looting of the world. And the primary one of the primary looting mechanisms is the narcotics trade. The global narcotics trade is the primary looting of the world. The drugs are disseminated, and that is the source of a large part of the offshore financial credit on which money on which the whole financial system is leveraged. And this has been put out by a report by the United Nations. I mean, it's not like this is a secret. So when Hong Kong Shanghai Bank got caught money laundering billions of dollars of drug traffic, Loretta Lynch slapped him on the wrist. And after she did that, she became the Attorney General. Why? Because they run the Justice Department. The drug cartels run the Justice Department. In effect, you know, you wouldn't have, in effect, in reality, it was too big to fail, too big to jail, and that goes for the banks that launder the drug money. So essentially, that's what you're up against. You're up against an empire of criminality, and that empire of criminality after 9/11 created a surveillance state. And now the big scandal that's just come out is that a major Swiss company, which is the one that is the trusted company that most governments and corporations go to handle their encryption programs. It turns out that there's the hidden owners were the CIA and the German BND, which is the German CIA equivalent. So every company's been massively surveilled. Every government, every communication of every government has been massively surveilled. And what does that do? That gives them the power to intervene against this person, against that person, against this person, this government in this way. So they already know what's going on, and also to plant to blackmail. You know, it's another big factor, is to blackmail anybody that they want. So either frame or blackmail. So this system is now under attack around what they tried to do with the president, with President Trump. So at this moment, that whole thing is now coming into view. And so Bill Barr has farmed out to a couple other district attorneys, to a couple other U.S. attorneys, the job of investigating outside of Washington, D.C., not just Durham, out of Connecticut. I think he's out of Connecticut. I could be wrong. Anyhow, so the reaction from the Justice Department is to call upon all its alumni to call for Bill Barr's resignation, and now they've gone to the National Judges Organization, the organization, you know, the fraternal organization of all the judges, to call for the same thing. So they're going after Barr. Why are they going after Barr? Because the process is moving towards not only uncovering but also indicting the key people involved in the criminal operation involving Trump. But it's not just a criminal operation involving Trump, it's a criminal operation involving the whole nation, all the political networks. Everybody has been under this surveillance state. And Bill Binney is one of the people who's exposing all of this. You know, he can prove that there was no Russia hack, that it was a download. He's exposing the Hammer program. He knows what it is because he was the technical director of the NSA. He knows what this actually is. And so, and then Bill Binney, Donald Trump asked Pompeo to have a meeting with Bill Binney. Bill Binney sat down with Pompeo for an hour to explain to him the forensic evidence of why there was no Russia hack and why the whole Russia narrative is a fraud. Pompeo said, well, have you contacted this? Have you contacted that? Pompeo didn't do anything with that. Pompeo is still maintaining that. And he was briefed. Not only that, but Nancy Pelosi and Pompeo were both at the German Munich Security Conference that occurs every year, where all the security people get together. And they both gave the same raving speech against China. That China is, you know, threatening the West. China is threatening the freedom of the West. China is threatening the civil rights of the West. I mean, it just went totally berserk. And Pompeo is on a massive campaign attacking China in Africa, attacking China in Latin America, attacking China in the Middle East, attacking China in Eastern Europe. And he went to the governors' conference in the United States, and he told all the governors not to accept any Chinese investments in their state. And that the Chinese are coming in and they're taking over the United States, you know, the red peril is coming, what have you. Trump is saying the exact opposite. Congress is putting sanctions on China. Congress is now passing a measure, or the Treasury Department has now issued an order that all Chinese media organizations are to be treated as embassies, to be treated as foreign agents. And they have to now, you know, they have to write down every time they go to the bathroom, you know, from now on. That's the kind of pressure being placed on China. There's a massive attack on Chinese here, scholars, students. There's a wave of anti-China. And then they're using the coronavirus outbreak in China as, you know, another way to demonize the Chinese. And the Chinese are doing everything possible to contain this virus, keep it from spreading around the world. They're doing far more than any country has ever done in the history of plagues and diseases. And you know, it's a people's war against the coronavirus. That's what Xi Jinping is calling it. It's a people's war against the virus. Would we have a people's war against the virus with our privatized healthcare system, which is falling apart? But what China's doing could ultimately prevent the United States from having the coronavirus totally destroy, totally send the U.S. healthcare system into chaos. And yet they're being attacked. They're being accused of fomenting the coronavirus. Like somehow, you know, they're responsible for it. You know, they're the blame. You know, or worse, their economy is going to collapse because of the coronavirus. You know, and this whole media is out there saying all this stuff. It's totally insane. It's totally off. China is not going to collapse. They can mobilize because they are well organized. You know, like we used to be well organized in the old days. You know, they can mobilize. We should be able to do that ourselves. So now at the same time, you have this entire locust thing hitting. Locusts should not exist. DDT would take care of locusts. Oh, but they got rid of DDT. And it was based on a fraud. It was based upon political consideration. Ruckelshaus said that it was political considerations that got rid of DDT. Why? Because many people were living because they weren't getting malaria. And the anti-population reduction crowd did not want DDT. And they made a big stink about it being environmentally unsound. It made bird eggshells go soft, and therefore we had to ban it, which is bullshit. That didn't make egg bird cells go soft or anything like that. And they could eliminate the locusts with the DDT. They got rid of the DDT so the mosquitoes could breed and kill people. And that's why they did it. This is a depopulation policy. So now you have the locust problem from the western part of northern India, across Iran, down into Saudi Arabia, now into Africa. And, you know, if they could come up with $76 million, they could probably do something about it. But they won't. The international organizations won't. Pompeo, the Secretary of State, that only gave $8 million. They don't want to get rid of the locusts. They want the locusts to do the job of wiping out the food production in these areas. That's what they want. They don't want the locusts to be stopped. The United Nations doesn't want the locusts to be stopped. The European Union doesn't want the locusts to be stopped. You know, and the U.S. State Department doesn't want the locusts to be stopped. They want the locusts to spread. Otherwise, they would have intervened. Right now is the best time to wipe it out before the next generation in July, before it comes out back in July, in a very big, in 100 times more stronger way, and wipe out most of the food production from Africa all the way through the Middle East into India. They want that. They want it. So we're up against depopulation. Now, Donald Trump is not a depopulator. He doesn't believe in depopulation. He doesn't believe in Malthusianism. Everything about Donald Trump is I want to build, I want to create, I want to expand, I want human race to expand into space. He's not that kind of person. And he was in California, in Bakersfield. What was he doing there? He was issuing an executive order to reverse the operation to cut off water to the farmers that's been going on. You know, those little fishies, the little smelt that no one has found, they have a lot more power over the water than agriculture. So he's reversing all of that and allowing for the transfer of water from the north, which has been cut off because supposedly you're not supposed to transfer water from one basin to another. Well, how are you going to get extra water if you don't do that? Well, it's environmentally unsound and blah, blah, blah. This is all under Obama. This is under Obama. This is under Jerry Brown, you know, Jerry Brown shirt. And so Trump is there reversing that. So that the major food production area of the world, which is the Central Valley there, it's the major, it's where half of our fruits and vegetables come from in the United States. Get the water they need. Gee, what a terrible person Donald Trump is. He wants to help these rich farmers. That's the headline in the news. Wants to help rich farmers. Yeah, right. Yeah, what about the people who eat? Well, the real reason is he wants to help the people who eat. We all depend on the food. So this is the kind of situation that we're in. So while he's doing that, they had this Democratic debate last night. I deliberately did not watch it. I get sick when I watch these people. You know, it makes me ill. So I can't do it. I have to pick up the reports, you know, the afterwards, what people say about it, because I can't watch these debates. I just get ill. It's just there's something about these people. There's something about the way they speak. There's something about what they're saying. There's something about what the questions are being asked. It just makes me ill. You know, and I don't know how many other Americans feel this way, but I certainly do. So what do you have in this debate? Well, you have, you know, you have this guy, Michael Bloomberg, plopped into the race. You know, like a turd coming crashing through on top of already a stinky place. And he was a turd. Let's face it. He's not used to being in those circumstances. So he was like a turd that had a hard time communicating. But that doesn't mean anything, because that's not why he's there. He's not there to convince you that he's a good guy. He's not there to convince you that he's any better than these other turds that are running. He's there for a reason. He's there to be the propaganda vehicle, right? So the impeachment thing has run its course. Now you got a second course coming around Roger Stone. You got a smaller one. You got another one coming around Barr. You have another one coming around the accusation that Russia's already intervening in the election, which is a bald-faced lie. It's all a fraud. Nonetheless, they're going to continue this Russia thing, but they need to have somebody with a lot of money, $2 billion, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5, to be able to just hit put out the propaganda, put out the green propaganda, put out the anti-Trump propaganda, and just lie like hell. You know, I'm going to save your job. I'm going to give you money. I'm going to give you a chicken in every pot, or more, a pot in every chicken. Whatever. This is what Bloomberg is there for. He's not there, you know, he's there to use his money until the nomination time. And then if he gets the nomination, well, he gets the nomination. Whether he gets the nomination or not is irrelevant. If he does, then he can spend another $1 billion or $2 billion or $3 billion. And where did he get this money from? From the financial system. And his view of the agricultural sector is very simple. He says, you know, it's very simple. You take a stick, you dig a hole, you put a seed in there, and you cover it. That's agriculture. The same thing for machining, right? He's saying that these people are stupid, whereas the people who do the financial and run the computers, and they're the intelligent people. He completely crapped on the physical economy, completely crapped on farmers. Man, farming is a very complicated business. It's extremely complicated. It's the most complicated business in the world. It involves so many different aspects. And this guy is a total, I don't know what to say. But nonetheless, if he gets the nomination, then they can continue this process of an assault on the population, of an assault on the president. And why? Because that atmospheric process then provides the cover for all the other operations. What are the other operations? The assault on Barr, getting Barr out. The assault on you know, the whole Russia narrative. And many others that they can concoct up, because they have to keep the resistance going, because it is precisely that resistance which is most manifest in the behavior of Mike Pompeo as Secretary of State. Whoever Mike Pompeo is, he has said that he considers Bernard Lewis to be a seminal influence in his thinking. Well, Bernard Lewis is the architect of all these terrorist wars, these religious wars in the Middle East. He's the architect of it. He's an Islamicist. He studied Islam and found all the cracks in Islam, and then the bankers came in and started financing all of this. The Muslim Brotherhood and the Saudis. This whole thing comes out of the Bernard Lewis plan of breaking up the Middle East, breaking up Russia and China, in India and Pakistan, through this kind of war, irregular war, using mercenaries. And I'm not going to go through in detail all the things that have happened, because it would take volumes of details. But the point is, this is what Trump is trying to stop, and yet Pompeo is saying that that's where he's coming from. Well, he's not just him; it's the entire State Department. 5 generations of British operatives in the State Department. Henry Kissinger avowed that he kept the British Foreign Office more informed of what he was doing and what he was thinking and what he was planning than he did the White House. He was running U.S. foreign policy in tandem with the British Foreign Office. The U.S. State Department under Henry Kissinger was coordinating everything with the British Foreign Office, not with the U.S. President. And he admits it. And when was that? That was in the late 60s, early 70s. He missed it. So if it was happening like that back then, what do you think is going on now? Who do you think Christopher Steele is? He was effectively the number 2 in British intelligence. And when he left British intelligence, he was effectively still the number 2 in British intelligence, retired. And what do? He had hundreds of communications with Victoria Nuland during the whole Ukraine thing. Christopher Steele, he was directly involved in all of the operations against Russia, being run jointly by the United States and CIA and MI6. Okay, the Foreign Intelligence Service of the United Kingdom. So he had great credibility, right? He had great credibility. You know, it would be like, he had more credibility than the CIA director of the United States or the president of the United States or anybody. He was British. The British are the best in intelligence, don't you know? They're very credible. They can fake anything and make it stick. They're very credible. So that's the British intelligence. So that's what this was all about. And So as we go into this situation, we're going to be approaching this so-called super duper Stupor Tuesday, okay, and which is March 3rd, Tuesday, March 3rd, right? And a lot of people are nervous because these candidates don't have a lot of support, and they're frightened that Bernie Sanders might come out ahead, and they don't want Bernie Sanders to come out ahead because they can't. I mean, he's off the wall, but they don't want him to come out ahead because then that creates an unscripted presidential campaign. They'd rather have a scripted presidential campaign where Trump wins than an unscripted presidential campaign where Trump wins. Because in an unscripted presidential campaign, you might get a discussion of reality in the population, and everything is designed to prevent a discussion of reality. None of these politicians are discussing reality. It's all tertiary issues, you know, whatever, sexism and whatever.
Common stock investments have helped to make our country prosperous and powerful. Owning a share in American industry is like owning a share in the future of our nation. But remember, John Q, there is a risk as well as an advantage in owning any kind of property. So get the facts before you put your money to work.